Hey guys, so this is your trainer Anirudh Chhillar. So we are back with one more video of OSPF. I hope you are learning in a good way and a good pace. So let's go for the next video.
So I was teaching you router LSA, right? And I hope, what I remember actually that I have completed this router LSA. I taught you that what is the uses of router LSA in OSPF, right? So again, I'm just repeating this router LSA. As I said in previous class, that router LSAs will be generated by all routers. It's mandatory, right? But router LSAs cannot go beyond their area. Router LSAs cannot move from one area to another area, right? And one router can generate maximum one router LSA for one process and for one area. If you are running more than one process on a single router, or if you are running more than one area ID, more than one area on a single router, then of course your router will be responsible to generate multiple router LSAs. So number of router LSAs will be depending on that how many areas are configured on your device, as well as how many processes are running on your device, right? So this is all about the router LSA. Remember that inside router, see, in all types of LSAs there are two major things. There are two major components. One is known as advertisement, one is known as link ID, second is known as advertisement or advertising ID, router ID. In router LSA, link ID and advertising ID will always be same. Remember, in router LSA, link ID and advertising ID will be same, and it will be router ID of that router who have originated that router LSA. So let's say that R1 have originated one router LSA and the router ID of R1 was 1.1.1. So in that case, link ID as well as advertising ID of that router LSA will be 1.1.1. Have you understood it now? So in router LSA, remember that link ID and advertising ID will always be same, and it will be router ID of that router who have originated that router LSA. That's it. Fine. Now let's talk about network LSA. You understand? This is also known as type 2 LSA. And first 20 bytes will remain same, common. First 20 bytes. And basically, remember that this network LSA do not contain any route information, you can say. Actually, remember this network LSA will be generated by DR only. If you do not have any DR in your network, then you will never find type 2 LSA, because network LSA is also known as type 2. So if there is no DR available in your network, then you will never find this network LSA. Now you know very well that where will you find this DR? Wherever you will be having multi-access network. So if you are having multi-access network in OSPF, so definitely there will be an election of DR and VDR automatically, right? And a router which will be elected as DR will be responsible to generate network LSA2, right? So basically this network LSA is responsible to have an information about all connected devices in that multi-access network as well as IP address of DR. Remember, this network LSA will be responsible to have that information, that how many devices are interconnected in that multi-access network. See, this network LSA will be having router IDs of all those routers which are interconnected in that multi-access network. So this information will be contained by network LSA. Apart from that, it will also have the IP address of DR. Like again, there will be two major things: link ID, advertising ID, is not it? So under link ID, it will be IP address of DR interface. It will not be router ID this time, right? IP address of DR. Advertisement ID, router ID of DR. See, router ID and IP address is quite different from each other. Router ID, which you define as router ID on your device, right? IP address of DR means the IP address of that interface which have been elected as DR. And then this LSA, this network LSA will also be responsible to contain router IDs of all connected device, router IDs of all connected devices.
That segment one.
Yeah, of course, in that segment, in that multi-access network, don't say segment, say multi-access network. Like for an example, if this is R1, there is a switch R2 and R3. Let's say R1 have been elected as DR, so R1 will be responsible to generate this network LSA, and this network LSA, it will be containing the router IDs of R1, R2 as well as R3. I mean all connected devices in this multi-access network, as well as it will be having an IP address. I mean inside the link ID, it will be having an IP address of this interface which have been configured as a DR. Understand? So this is all about network LSA, but remember that network LSAs cannot move from one area to another area. And this time it's not like that ABR will create some DLSS of your network LSA and then will inject its information into different area. No, actually there will not be any requirement to have this multi-access network information in different areas. There will not be any requirement of having it. That is why you will never find that network LSAs are going from one area to another area. So network LSAs will be existing within an area. If your network LSA was originated within area 1, then it will be existing in area 1 only. It will be existing in the database of area 1. It cannot move from one area to another area in any case. Understood? Fine. Type 3 LSA. So if you talk about the type 3 LSA, is what? Summary LSA. Would be generated by ABR. Remember, type 3 LSAs can be generated by ABR only. It's not like that every router can generate or any router can generate this summary LSA. No. To configure to generate summary LSAs, it is mandatory. It is mandatory to become an ABR. So only ABR have this capability to generate your type 3 LSA. Exactly. So what happens actually, like for an example, this is R1, this is R2, R3, R4, R5. Here let's say that you are running area 1, and here let's say you are running or you can say that here you are running area 0. So definitely this R3 is going to become now ABR, because if you configure it as area 2, then it will never be configured as or you can say it will never become an ABR, because to become an ABR it is mandatory to have at least one interface in regular area and at least one interface in backbone area. So this time this R3 is fulfilling this condition. That is why R3 will become an ABR. But here you can see that R3 will be holding a complete database of area 1 as well as area 0. all router LSAs of area 1 and all router LSAs of area 0 as well. Is not it? Because R3 is participating in area 1 as well as in area 0. So thing is that how many router LSAs will be there for area 1? 3. Because only 3 routers are participating in area 1. And how many router LSAs will be there in area 0? Again 3. Because only 3 routers are participating in area 0. But this time you will see that R3 will be having now database of 2 different areas. It will be maintaining database of area 0 as well as it will be maintaining the database of area 1 as well. Now, because it is already having all router LSAs of area 1 in its database table, right? So now it will convert them into summary LSAs and will inject those summary LSAs into the database of area 0. And in same manner, because it is also having some router LSAs for area 0 itself, so it will convert those router LSAs into summary LSA and will inject those summary LSAs into the database of area 1. Have you understood it or not? So basically, if your APR is having router LSA in any one of the area, then it will create summary LSAs of that router LSA and will inject them into different areas. Remember that if your router LSA was in area 1, then summary LSAs will never be injected back into area 1 itself. Never, ever. And if it is happening like that, it means there can be a routing loop. So remember that whenever your APR will break your router LSAs into summary LSAs, then it will never inject those summary LSAs back into the same area in which it was receiving that router LSA. Are you getting my point or not? So it will convert your router LSAs into summary LSAs and will inject them into different area. That's good. I mean, that's all about the summary LSAs. Have you understood it? Now, in summary LSA, remember there will be two different things actually. One is link ID, another one will be advertising ID. So if you talk about the link ID will be your network ID. Exactly, network ID of your of your prefix, right? I mean, it will be your prefix actually. You can say prefix ID. And advertisement ID will be router ID of an ABR. Router ID of an ABR.
Link ID will contain all the
Link ID will contain network ID itself. Network ID, not subnet mask, only network ID. Because for subnet mask it is having prefix length, a different field. Like 192.168.1.0/24. So 192.168.1.0 will be listed under link ID and /24 will be listed under mask. Have you understood it now? So remember that summary LSAs will be generated by an ABR, and whenever routes will go from one area to another area, they will always go in the form of summary LSAs, means in the form of type 3 LSAs. Remember, internal routes will go from one area to another area in the form of type 3 LSAs, or you can say in form of summary LSAs. So if you are having any problem, please let me know. Is there any problem now? Sure. Good. Fine. Next, type 4 LSA. Before going to understand type 4 LSA, I mean the uses of type 4 LSA, or you can also call it ASBR summary LSA. Before going to understand it, we must understand type 5 LSA actually. So first of all, let's talk about type 5 LSA, and then after I will teach you type 4 LSA. Type 5 LSA is also known as can be generated by
ASBR router.
and ASBR only. Second, right? Second thing about this type of LSS,
Different.
test tube that can be generated by an ASBR only, right? And will keep only and only, will have only external prefixes, external route, or you can say redistributed routes. Right? And remember that type of LSS can go from one area to another area as well, and they will never get modified. They will always move in form of type of LSS from one area to another area, and also they are not required to have ABR as well. I mean, if you are having two regular areas only, then also they can move from one regular area to another regular area even without having ABR itself. There is no, I mean, there are no limitations for type 5 LSS. Like if you are having R1, R2, R3, you are having here area 1, here you are having area 2, and you perform redistribution on R2, R1. So R1 will become now. So now these type 5 LSS can move from one area 1 to area 2 as well without any problem, without even having ABR as well. So for type 5 LSS, it is not mandatory to have an ABR. They can move from one area to another area automatically. Have you understood it now? Fine. Now inside type 5 LSS, again you will be having two things. One is, and second one is what? Link ID will be your external prefix, whereas advertisement ID will be router ID of an fine. After it, now let me ask you one question now. R1 is there, R2 is there, R3 is there, R4 is there, R5 is there. Let's say here you are running area 0 and here you are running area 1. It will be, let's say this R1 is what? You perform here some redistribution. So that it have become now ASBR. Fine. So these type of LSS will be given by R1 to R2. R2 will give them to R3. And let's say R3 have given it to R4. R4 have given it to R5. Fine. Now R2, whenever R2 will receive this type of LSA, it will open that type of LSA, will check its advertisement ID. Does R2 have any information about the advertising ID? Because advertising ID will be the router ID of an R1. I mean of a router R1. Are you getting my point? Advertising ID will be router ID of R1. So does R2 have this information that how to reach R1?
Yes.
Or who is an ASBR?
Yes.
Yes. In router
How?
LSA, there will
Inside router LSA, there is a bit E.
Yeah.
E bit inside router LSA. So now after becoming an ASBR, this R1 will add E bit inside its own router LSA, and then this R1 will advertise that router LSA in the direction of R2. So R2 will come to know that R1 is working as an ABR, and this is the router ID of ABR, right? And sorry, R1 is working as an ASBR, and this is the router ID of an ASBR. And now R2 will also come to know that, okay, what is the cost to reach this ASBR. In same manner, R2 will advertise that router LSA to R3, because R3 is also participating in area 0. So R2 will advertise that LSA to the R3. So R3 will also come to know that who is an ASBR. And what is the cost? What is the cost to reach this ASBR? Fine. Now, this router LSA cannot move into area 1 now. This router LSA cannot move in area 1, and summary LSA do not have that kind of bit. So how will it be possible for R4 to have the information about that ASBR now? Are you getting a point or not? How is it gonna be possible for R4 and R5? Because R4 and R5 will receive those type of LSAs, and if they don't know about the advertising ID, if they don't have any information about the advertising router, will it be really possible for R4 and R5 to install them inside their routing table? Are you getting my point or not? Yes. So now it is really mandatory to inform all routers which are participating in area 1 that who is an ASBR and what is the cost to reach an ASBR. Who is an ASBR and what is the cost to reach an ASBR, so that R4 and R5 which are participating in area 1 can also install those prefixes inside their routing table. Because remember that if you have received any router, sorry, any LS, any type of LS, and if you don't have any information about their advertising router, then you will never install those prefixes inside your router's routing table. I mean inside the routing table. Have you understood it or not? So if advertising ID is not reachable, is not known for a router, then definitely it will never install those prefixes inside its own routing table. Fine. So this time, because R4 and R5 do not have any information about that advertising ID, because advertising ID is coming as the router ID of R1. However, R4 and R5 don't know anything about the R1 because they are in different areas. So R4 and R5 have information about up to R3 only, that how to reach R3, how to reach ABR. Beyond the ABR, what is running, how many routers are there, how many types of, I mean what is going on, it doesn't know. It is completely unknown for R4 and R5. Is not it? So this time it is really necessary to give some information so that routers in other areas can also come to know about your ASBR, about your existing ASBR. You understand? So this time you do one thing. I mean you will not do anything actually. This ABR will automatically perform this task, because this ABR knows very well that what is the cost to reach an ASBR, right? Because it is also participating in area 0. So now it will create a type 4 LSA for area 1. Type 4 LSA for area 1 only. So this type 4 LSA will not be generated for for area 0. It will be generated for area 1 only, because area 1 do not have any information about an ASBR. So this ABR will generate type 4 LSA now, and in this type 4 LSA it will be having an information about an ASBR. See, let me tell you. Again, in this type 4 LSA, there will be two major things. One, link ID, and second one is what? Advertisement ID. So under link ID, it will be having router ID of an ASBR. Under link ID, it will be having router ID of an ABR. And also this LSA will contain information, cost to reach an ASBR, but from only ABR. This information will also contain by type 4 LSA. So only this information will be contained by your type 4 LSA. Understood?
So it can be generated only by ABR.
Yeah, of course. So remember, type 4 LSS can be generated by an ABR, and type 4 LSS will always contain information about an ASBR only. Have you understood it or not? Hello. Type 4 LSA will be generated by ABR, will be responsible to contain information about an ASBR only, and also cost to reach an ASBR. And one more thing, that type 4 LSA will be injected by an ABR in that area only in which it does not have that ASBR. If let's say that on R5 also you have performed redistribution, so R5 will also become now ASBR. In that case, R3 have to generate one another type 4 LSA and will inject it in the database of area 0. So this time, I mean in this condition, of course R3 have to generate two different type 4 LSAs. One type 4 LSA will get injected into the database of area 1, and one type 4 LSA will be injected in the database of area 0. Hello, but ABR is mandatory. If your router is not working as an ABR, it cannot originate type 4 LSA. So to generate type 4 LSA, it is mandatory to become an ABR first. That is why what happens actually, let's say this is R1, R2, R3, R4, and this is, let's say, R5. R1, R2, R3 are participating in area 1, and R3, R4 and R5, let's say, are participating in area 2. So is there any ABR now? Fine. Now further you perform redistribution on R1, it will become now, so it will generate type 5 LSS, right? Now these type 5 LSS will be present in the database table of all routers now, in the database of area 1 as well as in the database of area 2. But the problem is that all routers which are participating in area 1, R1, R2, R3, they will be capable to install these external routes inside their routing table, because they knows very well that how to reach an ASBR. But R4 and R5, they will keep those LSAs, type 5 LSAs inside their database table, but will never be possible for them to install them into routing table. Means R4 and R5 will never install those routes inside their routing table. You will never find those prefixes available inside the routing table of R4 and R5, because this time there will not be any type 4 LSA. I mean, this ASBR, this advertising ID of type 5 LSS will not be known for R4 as well as R5. And of course, there is no type 4 LSA available in the database of area 2, because you do not have an ABR. Only ABR have this capability to generate type 4 LSA and to inject it into different areas.
When the R3 is connected to R2 as a virtual link, after that
R2,
R3.
yes, R3 is connected with.
जब अपन virtual link बनाएंगे उसके बाद ही वो.
So where will you configure virtual link? With using virtual link also you can extend only area 0, but this time you do not have an area 0. Where are you having area 0?
नहीं, जब मैं यही कह रहा हूँ जब अपन virtual link बनाएंगे उसके बाद ही.
Where is area 0? Why will you configure it here in virtual link actually?
अभी आप बोल रहे हो ना कि अभी R4 R5 पे नहीं जाएंगे, ठीक है? जब मैं virtual link बनाऊंगा तभी नहीं जाएंगे, वरना नहीं जाएंगे. हाँ तो सर अगर area 0 लगा दिया.
And if area 0 is there, then why will you configure virtual link now? Let's say area 0 is there now on R3, so it will become ABR. Okay, let's say that area 0 is there, right? Now you have to, of course, you have to configure virtual link over this area 1 now. No, type 5 LSS will be injected in the database table of area 2, but the problem is that they will never be capable to install them inside their routing table. That's what I meant to say. I said earlier on also, I said that type 5 LSS can move from one regular area to another regular area without having any problem. But the problem is type 4 LSS can be generated by an ABR only. So if you do not have an ABR, then type 4 LSS will not be generated. And if type 4 LSS is not there, then other areas routers, in other areas, routers will not be able to install those prefixes inside their routing table, because let's assume that here there is no ABR. So how will it be possible for R4 and R5 to have this information, that how to reach this advertising ID, how to reach R1, how to reach ASBR, what is the cost to reach ASBR? So they don't have that information, and that information can be present on these two routers only in that case when area 2 is having an ABR. So it is mandatory to have an ABR if you are transmitting your type of LSS from one regular area to another regular area. Ask me any question now. Then router LSS will always belong to a specific area. Whenever you will see router LSS, it will be listed under area. But type 5 LSS, you will never see any area, because they don't belong to any specific area. They belongs to all areas actually. That's why it is possible for type 5 LSS to move from one area to another area without having any other thing like ABR or whatever it is.
Okay, so that's the end of today's video. So I hope you learned something new today. We'll be coming with few more videos of OSPF, guys. See you later. Thank you.